It's time to assemble this beauty. Welcome everybody back to Just Plain Crazy. I'm Brennan. Thanks for joining me for another episode down in the lair. And if you didn't catch the unboxing of this thing, please, right there, go click it, go watch that. But available over at Gator-Rc in two different schemes. This is the 61-inch Extra SX from Sebart. An amazingly beautiful model, and I mean well constructed, amazing accessory pack. I'm excited to get this thing going. This thing is like some real high quality stuff, and it should be a monster to fly. I'm excited. I gotta go. Let's do it. All right, so first things first, we have our bags opened up, and we're gonna take our pieces and we're just gonna test fit all of our horns. One of the things that I like to make sure of is that the horn is gonna sit perfectly on the hinge line, which especially with doing maneuvers, if you really want to be precise, that way if the hole is there, the same amount of movement is necessary regardless of what position you're in. So if you're a guy that's really going to be in tune to your stick feel, that's going to be very important. For the rest of us that aren't real great with that type of stuff, whether you're flying precision pattern or whether you're flying grade 3D, maybe you'll be fine without it. But this model is so well built. Like, I'm going to rave about this till I'm blue in the face, but everything is perfectly, and I mean perfectly, right on that hinge line. So all I do is I test fit for that. And then when that horn is in there, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take some tape, and I'm going to start taping off where that horn is. So that way, as I put in my epoxy, that stuff doesn't run onto and ruin my covering. All right, so now that that's done, I'm going to do that for all of them. And the other thing is that they already have holes in the horns, which is really nice, but you can't forget, you still have to scuff those up. You want that epoxy to be able to bite into there. Now on these, we're just going to go ahead and use Starbond epoxy. I'll show you guys that in a minute. I've been using that on all my projects, and it's been working really well for me. So let's get that done to all of these, and then we'll get them glued in. All right, we're going to use 5-minute epoxy here on these. So we're using the Starbond epoxy. This is the little mixing tray and this little silicone thing they give you to mix it up and things like that, spread it, whatever. But if you get epoxy on it, this stuff just literally peels right off. Look how nice that is. So now you have like a permanent, same with the dishes, the little mixing things that you do in there, they pop right out. So it's a really nice kit. You ought to check them out. Links down in the description below as always. But yeah, let's go ahead and get this stuff applied. So everything is taped off in here. We're going to get rolling with some equal parts. Sometimes I use scales for this to make sure I get equal amounts mixed in, but for these, we should be able to get it pretty accurate. All right, let's go ahead and mix this up. All right, now we're going to go ahead and pull our horns out. Don't get them mixed up, and we're going to start to apply this stuff. I use a toothpick. They show you in the instruction manual you can use CA. I won't do that. But I like to get toothpicks in here so I can really work this down into the wood, and that I know that I have plenty of contact. Okay, once that's there, then we can just go ahead and smear a little bit onto this piece. And again, we want to have a little bit of epoxy rise up to the top when you insert in your horns. Make sure you put them in the right way. Hole on the hinge line, right? All right, so that looks good. Now the other thing you can do is use this back edge to make it like a nice chamfered look. Awesome. Off to doing all the others. Now for my servos, I had to open up those bays a little bit more. So those pre-drilled holes won't work for me, which isn't a big deal. All I did was cut out that much. Literally, it's probably 2 millimeters. So that way I could fish these things down and get them installed right back into those pockets. So it's not a big deal if you need to open that up. There's plenty of reinforcements underneath, and then I'm just going to drill new holes. So again, these are my King Max 2209s, and I'm going to show you guys how I put in my grommets. For grommet installation, we just put those on a drill bit like this. Just give them a nice push right through, and then the hat or flange portion of it is on the bottom side. So let's go ahead and get servos installed. When it comes to setting the horizontal in place, one of the best things that you can do is find the midpoint and just make yourself a T-pin and string. And I use a little piece of tape that slides up and down on the rope. So it's a little sticky, but yet you can still move it and it'll hold into place. And I'll show you what we do on the other end. With the string up there fastened, what we're going to do now is we're going to pull this taunt. We're going to have a horizontal roughed into place, and all we do is pull this string, taunt, and I use that little green thing there as a marker. So we're right to that front edge with it taunt, and we come over to the other side and we pull it taunt, and maybe we're just going to cheat this way a hair. Now they want you to take out this little silver plug here in the back, this thing. The horizontal slides in. I mark that so I know it goes back in the way it came out. But this was a rough eyeball from straight down. Look at how they have the front of this notched already. See that notch there and there? So you can almost get this right into place just by pushing it in and eyeballing the space here in the back, because we don't have a lot to do this way and this way. Usually we're going to make a measurement from here out to there and here to there, as well as here and out to the edge, and just make sure that this thing is square as possible. The other thing that we want to do is make sure that this is this way. We put the a clamp right there on the counterbalance and the horizontal, and we look at this as an eyeball to make sure that everything is perpendicular to each other and that we have a true 90 in here. And that thing is really, really nicely laid out. So they do want you to wick in thin CA. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use some epoxy, so that way that thing, once I slide it in, I have time to work with it and get it into position before I just wick in CA and be done. And then we have alcohol and a little bit of a rag, so that way if I have to fix anything or clean anything up here along the edges, I can do that quick. So we're going to time lapse this, but let's get going. So we have our laser set up and we're just checking the setup. Now this is from the factory. Literally perfect. So we know that's good. Let's epoxy it and get it set into place. Now that the tail is dried and secure, we're going to go ahead and insert the rudder. So these are already glued in there, which is great. They're still flexible. They didn't over glue them. We're going to have to open up those slots right there, and then we're going to dry fit. You're going to dry fit your rudder in there. There's a lot already chamfered, so even with no gap, the front edge lines up nicely right there, and the bottom lines up nice and flat, and that's going to determine this gap up in here. So I like the way this looks. We're ready to go ahead and CA that. So what I'm going to do is I'm using my Starbond thin CA with a nice pipette. We're just going to go ahead and apply a couple drops into each one of these, flip it over, and do the other side. I don't want to put in so much that it starts running out the other side. Next, we're going to go ahead and install the landing gear. There is a straight edge and a back chamfered edge there. You can see that it cuts back. Make sure you put this on the right way, because if you put it on the back way, your gear are going to sit kind of rolled back. So that goes with the more straight edge front. They give you some good normal 3mm hardware. We're going to go ahead and put in some nicer hardware up front. Don't forget Loctite, my friends. Now we're going to slide over our fairings. So these are the same side to side, but they do have a front and back. So as long as the longer portion goes towards the back, you're good. And what we'll do is we'll put in some silicone into those later and get them held into place. So those will just go on there for now, tires and axles. When it comes to putting on the gear, you want to go ahead and get your axle set on the inside of the wheel pant, nice and flat. Get it tight, see where that shaft is going to touch. I outlined mine with a marker. So we just do this. All right. Once that's done, you want to go ahead and drill that out so you have a hole like this. Now the benefit of that is it supports the wheel pant on the outside as well. So now that you're here, you can go ahead. I ground a flat spot on there. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put on our tire. We're going to take our wheel collar and if you struggle with wheels coming off, this is the greatest trick. I love this. It's worked for me really, really well. Take some canopy glue and we'll get some of that on there. It's a little bit much, so we'll wipe some of that off. More than I wanted. You don't need a ton. And if you put a little bit on the threads, that helps as well. And I like using this instead of Loctite because it's not hard on the threads when it goes to come off. So now we're going to take that collar. We're going to tighten that down so that's nice and tight. You can see how that canopy glue is sitting right there on the outside. And now you're going to go ahead and take your wheel pant and we're going to slide that behind there and we're going to stretch it up and over the outside of that collar. So that fits in there. You can see there how that sticks through a little bit. Like that. Now let's go ahead and tighten this down. So your wheel pants have notches in them where the gear's supposed to sit. So you know your wheel pants are in the right, they're at the right angle. So then we're just going to go ahead and drill. And to keep those things in place from moving around, we're just going to go ahead and install some screws. Now, I opted to use some fancier ones instead of the ones that come with it. For the tail wheel install, we're going to go ahead. This is just going to get screws. So we want to make sure that that pivot right there is on the hinge line. All right, we want to make sure that that thing is centered right there. And then once we get those screwed in, we get that CA'd and we go to put this one in. There's another screw that will go into the center. We want to make sure that's centered on the rudder and we want to put the screw right in the center of that glide hole. So let's get these drilled out and get some thin CA wicked in there. Now we're going to go ahead and mount the motor box. We're going to install all of the 4mm hardware on the inside. We are using bolts and washers. And once everything is mounted through, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to stick on here our Loctite. So that way these things don't come loose. And we're going to mount this just by getting them started. Before we tighten everything up. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to mount up our motor, 4mm stainless with a washer. We're going to put that on, and then another washer, and then our self-locking nut. So let's get that going. So this may be the only thing on this model that I change. I may put inserts in there, wood inserts, or I may put blind nuts in there. I don't know yet. But anyway, it's time to get the cowl mounted. So we are going to take these pieces and we are going to tape them on right here over those ears. Doesn't matter if they're straight, crooked. We do want to put them on so we can get our cowl mounted. So we may have to come back here a little bit like that. So, like so. And then what we are going to do is we're going to drill a couple pilot holes. There. Once you have the hole in there and you lay this cardboard over, or the postcard or index card, whatever, just start your screw through there just to make your hole. Get everything to line up. All right, now the first step, don't ever do this without mounting up your canopy. The canopy has to be on when you do this. Otherwise, you're going to put your cowl in the wrong spot. So we're going to go ahead and take this. We're going to slide this into position. We're going to make sure that we line up to the best of our ability our paint marks or paint lines. And now you're going to take your spinner, and in this case they give you a couple little inserts. Put the right insert in there for your prop shaft, and once that's on, we can use that as a spacer. So we can put that on. If you want, in this case, to use that, that's fine. Just make sure it's snug so that way nothing moves on you. And from here, what you want to do is move your cowl around, look at the front of it, look at the top, look at the bottom. Get your spacing for your spinner the way you want it. And we don't need a ton of room here, but you do need a little bit. You can use popsicle sticks for spacers if you want. I've used a bunch of different things, but for the most part, we should be able to eyeball this and get this pretty close. Once you're happy with your gap, push your paper back over. There's your holes. Go ahead and drill those. and then we can make whatever decision we want later, because for now they'll be all mounted up. All right, those are all tight. Here's the test. There's that. That. There's that. And that will sit on there. So let me pop you off. So that's ultimately the way that will look on the side. And there you can see the gap top to bottom. That looks pretty perfect to me. So super happy with that. Wiring is next. ESC shows up tomorrow, so we can finish up wiring and stuff then. Waiting on parts. All right, so we're going to proceed to get power into this plane. We are going to go ahead and get our ESC. Again, we're using a Jeti Mezzan Light. This is a 120 is what I wound up going with in this, so it's 6 to 8S capable. So should I want to use this down the road in something else, I can go ahead and do that. So for now, we're going to go ahead and get all of our bullet connectors soldered in, get everything heat shrunk, and get this thing ready to then get fired in the plane so we can get some power and set up our servos. But we're also using AMOS 150 anti-sparks. That way when you plug them in, they go kapook and eventually burn up your ESC and things like that. So a little bit of extra protection in these, but I like the universal fit in all my stuff. I run these and they work really well, and it works really nice if you want to run 8S, because you can run these in series with each other without extra extensions, Y harnesses, whatever. But that's why I use them. But anyway, let's get to soldering. All right, that's done. That turned out really nice. I like it. Let's get the cowl off and let's get this mounted. All right, so we have our ESC figured out. We're going to mount it at the bottom because we will have airflow in through the cowl, in the plane, out the bottom, and then there's a hole we should open up back here. So we're getting tons and tons of airflow, but for right now we have to go ahead and drill a few holes. So let's go ahead and make sure that we have all of our mounting where we want it. Which I like that right there. Lost our drill bit. And there you have it, everyone. That is a wrap for this section. Don't forget to subscribe so you catch the addition to this portion and any future videos that we release. So I'm Brendan. This is Just Plain Crazy. You're just plain crazy for always hanging out and watching. I appreciate every one of you. Smash that thumbs up button. It helps us out a lot. All of that shameless plug to like, share, subscribe, all that cool stuff. If you're going to give me one of these, definitely give me 2 of those. I deserve it. So with that being said, don't forget to check out the official Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok Just Plain Crazy pages. Links for this product are down in the description below. So whether or not you're maybe a Warbird fan, maybe you're an aerobatic fan, maybe a bigger aerobatic fan, maybe another Warbird, maybe you like classics. So all of those are found over at Gator-Rc. They got turbines, they got ARFs, they got covered, they got uncovered, Maxford USA, Top RC models, Seagulls models, Sebart models, you name it. There's so many to choose from, as you see here behind me. So don't forget to go over and check them out, www.gator-rc.com, your family-owned one-stop hobby shop. With that being said, I'm out. Till the next episode, I wish you guys happy flights. Peace out.